Welcome to Drink Naked. My name is Stewie Robinson from Naked Wines. On this podcast, I'll be talking with a legend, an absolute rock star from the world of wine, and hopefully getting the answers to what drives them to do exactly what they do. Along the way, you'll learn a lot about wine and the many, many exciting things about it, but especially you'll learn about how the winemaker, when free to express their creativity, can make something truly awe-inspiring and life-changing. So today on Drink Naked, all the way from the Yarra Valley in Victoria, we welcome the pioneering power couple that is Adrian and Rebecca Santolin. Welcome to Drink Naked.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
I just want to say right at the start, if anyone epitomises the Naked Wines mantra of a winemaker or winemaking team liberated by naked angels in order to pursue their dreams, it's you two. You've gone from borrowing some grapes from a friend to make a couple of barrels of wine to handcrafting tens of thousands of cases of wine for Naked Angel customers, and it's all since 2012?
Yes.
2012.
Yep.
You were one of the very first to become naked, and you helped launch the business in Australia. You are adored by thousands, you have thousands of followers, and your success is still growing strong. So in this chat, we're going to get to the bottom of and discover the why, the what, and the how of Adrian and Rebecca Santolin. I just want to know, leading up to 2012, which is almost like before and after 2012, what was your story before 2012? How did you meet? Let's start with that.
Oh, how did we meet?
That's always a good story.
That's a great story.
It can be a short story, a long story. The short one is we met at a dodgy nightclub.
Really dodgy.
So that's the short version. And Rebecca can tell the longer version.
Well, no, this is a good story because your label is called Boy Meets Girl.
Yeah.
So clearly there's a story that's linked into your actual brand, your label, and your marketing. So where was this dodgy nightclub?
Back in Griffith. It was actually
by day.
It was like a Italian club, like an RSL sort of club, and
pokies.
They cleaned that out when they decided having a nightclub there on a weekend would be a good idea. So they'd clear everything out and have a nightclub once a week and
a DJ.
Yeah, it's.
So the pokies were still there, flashing in the background, whilst the DJ was playing and we were dancing.
I love it. So the business, from a business perspective, was clipping the ticket at both ends, really, wasn't it?
It really was. A smart business on their behalf, I suspect. But so we were out one night there. My friends knew his friends, and I. So going back even further, I had an issue with going out with guys shorter than me. I just didn't feel. I felt really self-conscious. And so my friends were always, I was single at the time, and my friends were always pointing out, he's tall, how about him? Adrian happened to walk past, and they're like, he's tall, what about, I know him. And my friend's like, I'll go introduce, and then so we got introduced and danced the night away her
friend knew my friend, and me and my mate, we were about to leave, and because he knows virtually every person in Griffith, he does the lap of sort of honour where he's got to say bye and to everyone, and that takes about an hour, so
it's a small place, right?
So he was about to leave. So he was very cranky at me because Adrian ended up staying.
Yeah, well, we were getting out there because it'd be pretty busy. Wanted to catch a taxi home, and
there was only so many taxis.
Only so many taxis. There's like two, I don't know.
Yeah. So you'd be waiting for hours.
So we sort of met and didn't leave until it was time to close up. And
I dragged Adrian onto the dance floor and we danced to some dodgy songs. It was great.
Yeah, and then me and my friends, we had to sort of walk home the few kilometres. So it took us until daylight to sort of get home. So he wasn't too pleased with me when
I still get hell for it now.
Yeah. What?
I remember that.
And
so then
that was it. You had eyes for each other, and that was it.
Oh yeah, we kind of Adrian was back from uni because he was at uni in Canberra at the time, and so he was back. That was sort of Christmas holiday break, and we kind of just kept in contact. He'd come back, and he was actually working. I was working in the marketing department for a winery.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I was planning on going back to Melbourne, where I'm from originally, and studying fashion design. My parents moved up to Griffith and brought me with them, and And I was not very happy about that move. I vowed to get a job and save lots of money and move back to Melbourne so I could keep going with fashion.
So you were a city girl?
Yeah, I was a city girl. I stayed, and Mum's like, "Oh, you might meet a nice country boy." I'm like, "Mum, I'm not going to. Okay, I just want to go back to the city." And so she was bloody right. I did. So I ended up staying, but I was working at that winery that he actually would work at during his holidays as well, which was just a coincidence. But we sort of stayed on in Griffith for a few more years after that, and then we
got out of there, which was it's sort of the plan of everyone that's 18 years old when they finish school. The most people sort of leave Griffith.
But we go back regularly.
Visit family and
there,
that.
and it is lovely to go back.
It's a lovely place. It's just a long way from everywhere else, and
it is a fair way.
So just paint the picture for those people who don't know Griffith.
Oh, it's a lovely.
It's a small country agricultural town.
Yep. In the middle
Country
of
town.
nowhere,
There's about
literally
25,000 people or something like that. Big Italian community.
A lot of the Italian.
It's quite multicultural now as well. I think there's quite a lot of an Indian community as well, and Pacific Islanders. So very multicultural.
Yep.
Agricultural.
Lots of good food.
Yeah, good food and wine, and I love the place, but in terms of, I think making a career, it wasn't the place for me to make a career out of whatever I wanted to do, and at that stage, I was I always wanted to sort of make something when I was younger, like whether it be wine or beer or food, and I was interested in wine, I guess, wine and beer, and then when I sort of got to the later teenage years, I realised that agriculture's hard work, and I want to do something a bit more easy or glamorous, or something that seems that you earn more money or something, and so I
So you said, "I'll become a winemaker." That's easy and glamorous, right?
I went to university and studied something completely different, which was sports management. So,
did you?
Yeah. So
I want to be the Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire, or just be part of running a sporting organisation. Really, like football, soccer.
Yeah.
That's his other passion outside of wine.
Is sport.
Sport, particularly soccer.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So that's what I wanted to do, but it was at the time, and probably still is. It's a difficult industry to get a foot into, and I realised that you need to know people, and then I thought, oh, who do I know? I know a lot of people in the wine industry, and so maybe that's where I should belong, and rightly so. Like it's. I'm not the most outgoing person, so I'm better to hide away in some sort of shed and make stuff and only appear every now and then.
I mean, it's fantastic that you actually met in Griffith and then basically started your life journey together from there. So it makes it easy from a chat point of view, because now I can actually say, well, where did you both go after you left Griffith?
Well, then we moved to the Hunter Valley.
Yeah.
And that's sort of when we met, and Adrian was sort of, okay, actually wine is where I belong, and I came to Griffith like I said, with a fashion background, and I didn't like wine at all. I was like, ugh. And then you sort of get immersed in the culture and I just ended up I fell in love. So for me, I was like, that's it, wine's it. And so then that's sort of where Boy Meets Girl kind of originated in that time of our lives. We were like, you know what, one day, wouldn't it be amazing if one day we could have our own brand?
Called Boy Meets Girl.
Well, no, it was...
So you were dreaming even at that stage, right?
At that point, we're just a pipe dream. Wouldn't it be great if we had our own wine brand and we can make our own wine, and then we could drink it all the time. And I'd have it on tap all the time.
What a great dream.
I know, it was a great dream, right? I was thinking ahead.
In the meantime, you were working in the Hunter?
Well, so then we moved to the Hunter Valley.
Spent about 3 years in the Hunter? 3 years in the Hunter Valley.
Which,
we still have a great love of Semillon.
Hunter Semillon is one of our favourites.
And you were making there?
Yeah, so...
who was that for?
De Bortley Wines.
Yeah.
So I was working first as a trainee winemaker and then assistant. Mm-hmm. I always wanted to obviously make some wine, and I was sort of saying to Rebecca, let's make some wine. She's like, no, we can't afford it. How are we going to sell it?
Not yet. It's not right.
So
just put in perspective, what year circa was this?
That was about 03 to 06.
Okay.
Yeah. So got put on the back burner.
Kept hassling me. Hassling.
But eventually I wore it down, and
well, then we travelled. Then we went overseas. For me, before we got married and before we had kids, I needed to go to London, work a summer over there, you know, as a minimum.
Do the rite of passage.
Do the rite of passage. And so we did. And then Adrian, you know, we sort of tied in a trip to Italy and
Vintage
in Italy. And then that was sort of 2006. And then 2007 we came back and got married and
moved to the Yarra Valley.
Which is where you are now.
Which is where we are now. Yep. So I got a job with a wine company in 2007, which I have had until I sort of stopped working for them and started working for ourselves. And Adrian had sort of got some really great experience working around different vineyards, different wineries.
In the Yarra?
In the Yarra Valley,
yep. So basically, just to put it in perspective, you're the winemaking genius and you're the marketing genius.
It's kind of my background. Yeah, you know, I love doing all that kind of stuff. I really enjoy getting into the winery. That's sort of his charge and his domain, and I'm happy to get in there and help out and, you know, stomp those grapes when I need to. That's my favourite.
No, we're a good team.
Good team. But yeah, look, I love designing and, you know, in terms of the labels, I'll do the labels and the brands and
every now and then I come up with a good idea.
Well, I mean, he thinks it's a good idea. I'm not sure that it is.
I've got a few over the line.
No, well, have you? I'm not sure. I let him believe
I was just about to ask, do you get along well all the time?
We are complete opposites. Yeah. Like, in every sense, he's sort of more shy and retiring. I tend to be a bit loud and boisterous. You know, our music taste, totally different.
Seriously?
Taste, totally different.
My music taste is fantastic.
No. He's got this weird kind of, you know, style of music that he loves.
It's the 90s. It's the greatest period.
I know. I love the 90s.
It's a great decade, isn't it?
It is, but it's a different style of 90s.
Bring back the early 90s.
So what's your like, if not the 90s?
Well, no, I love the 90s.
Oh, you do?
But he likes kind of that rock style, whereas I'm kind of more dancey.
Hence meeting on the disco floor in
exactly.
Griffith.
Dragging him out to the disco floor and dancing. But yeah, look, the thing with us is, even though we're complete opposites, and it was really opposites attract, our core values and what we are aiming for in life are the same.
Yeah.
You know, what we want in life is the same. And so we've kind of got that, I guess, kind of. Help me out with the word, Adrian. I'm doing the hand
You're doing that thing. You're doing that thing.
The core belief.
The core values, I guess, of what we want to achieve in life and where
what is that?
Go.
What do you want to achieve? I mean, you're so bloody young and you've achieved so much together. And can I just say, the synergy between the two of you is incredible. You're both born in exactly the same year, right?
We were.
So you share this dream. So what is this dream?
Dream is to have our own winery, be self-sufficient, have our own vineyard. And for me, and I'm not sure how much of this Adrian wants to do, but for me is to travel.
Yeah.
And obviously have kids and a family, which we've kind of spent the last decade, like I feel like the last, our oldest is 9 and our youngest is 3, and we're kind of coming out of that young kids phase, and where we've been trying to run a business and bring up kids. But yeah, that's what we want in life. We've just nothing too crazy or grand.
It's amazing because you have achieved so much already, relatively early. So I know this is almost going in a linear timeline. I didn't plan it that way, but it sort of makes sense because, like I said, you epitomise the Naked ethos, the Naked Wines ethos. So we're almost up to 2012. What was happening just before 2012, before the launch of Naked Wines in Australia?
Adrian was hassling me again to make wine. He's like, come on, Rebecca, we do it.
No, I remember there was a little vineyard that was sort of coming up for lease. I think the owners didn't want to look after it anymore. And I sort of had a look at it, saying to Rebecca, got this, there's a chance to lease this vineyard and make some wine. And I had a look at the vineyard and I was like, this was about 2010. Mm-hmm. And I sort of thought, no, the vineyard's not in the greatest shape. And
again, this was in the Yarra?
In the Yarra, yeah. And the place where I was working, I wasn't sure if they'd let me make some wine in the corner. So that idea sort of got put on the back burner, but Rebecca was open to the idea for the first time.
Yeah.
And
it's like, we'd sort of...
Because it costs money, right?
It costs money. By this point, we'd saved up enough money.
Yep.
We literally had enough, just a small amount, to either put a deposit on a house...
Yeah.
or make wine. Like
and Rebecca wasn't working full-time anymore because we just had our first child.
Yeah. So we're like, what do we do? Do we have to do the responsible thing? And,
or do we do the irresponsible thing?
Really crazy thing that Adrian's been hassling me for years about? And we're like, Screw it. Let's just do it. You know, so 2012 was a year where we went, you know what? We bought 1 barrel. We bought 2 ton of Pinot. We bought 1 tank.
And the Pinot was from a friend, right?
I was from that.
It was
from the Lateral vineyard?
No, it was a different vineyard. It was someone that I used to work with. So I knew that he could produce decent quality grapes.
And all the time you were working your day job, right?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Well,
So before that, just before we bought those grapes, I had a crazy idea that maybe I should leave the wine industry to make my own wine. So I couldn't do it. I thought I couldn't do it working full time for someone else, and I was being employed at a place where, as I said, I couldn't make my own wine there. So
plus the wine industry doesn't pay very.
You heard it here first.
So I just went and worked in a warehouse and thought, okay, I'll take a couple of weeks off during vintage, make the wine, see if I can find somewhere that I can store it, and then I just need to, after vintage, I just basically need to check on it once a week on a Friday or something, So I went around to a couple of places, and there was I guess a prominent Yarra Valley winemaker who just moved into a new site, and I sort of put my case to him, and he was happy for me to make wine there, but he sort of offered me a job at the same time, and I was like, oh, well, that might work if you're happy with that.
And he was happy with that?
Yeah. So it all worked out. I worked full time until the end of 2016, and while doing the Naked Wines stuff and our own wine and
But that was it, like that year that we decided to. We've been preparing. Like I've been working on a brand, the Boy Meets Girl brand. It's like, you know what, we decided to make our own wine. I was sort of spending my nights up working on a brand, making this brand, creating this brand, and what are we going to use it for? I don't know. How are we going to make it work? I don't know. Like we had no idea.
We wanted to find a market for it before we actually made it.
Yeah, because obviously we're very conservative with our cash flow at that point. And then Naked Wines came along in 2012, so it kind of all everything kind of fell into place because I'd had the Boy Meets Girl brand ready to go.
Yeah.
We actually showed it to someone else who sort of didn't think it was a good idea.
Well, yeah, because they were a bit
old school.
And a bit,
I think cartoons were a bit too much.
Yeah, that traditional sort of wine mindset where it's I remember even my dad when I first showed him, God love him, I was like, Dad, here, look, what do you think of this brand? He's like, oh, yeah, that's really good, sweetheart. Absolutely. He tried so hard to be there. He's like, I could see in his mind, that's a cartoon character on a wine label. Is that going to work? But you were like, you know what, let's be different. Yeah. And for us, Boy Meets Girl, I always had the idea that Boy Meets Girl was going to be fun, approachable, and easy because for so long, like we've got obviously friends who drink a lot of wine, but they were baffled. They get baffled. They walk into a shop and it's all these different brands and all this different terminology and varieties and regions and I was like, let's make something that's super simple for people who are sort of new or wanting to come on board into the wine industry, or into sort of drink wine. Let's not complicate it. Let's make it really simple.
And no intimidation.
No intimidation. Like it's a cartoon. Yeah, let's have some fun with it. But make the wine, like I want to be able to drink this wine. Yeah. So make the wine good so that even people who do know a little bit more, who are, sort of a little bit more knowledgeable with wine, drinks it and says, you know what, this is good, and goes back and buys it again. Yeah. So that was sort of the whole idea behind Boy Meets Girl, like just sort of breaking down that whole, traditional wine barriers and just making it approachable and easy. Yeah,
it just works on every single level. From a brand perspective, which is where I work in, it encapsulates your story, Boy Meets Girl. I mean, there's no more discussion needed there because it is your story. The quality's there. It's fun. It's inviting. It's non-intimidatory. No. So it satisfies both levels of the market. Yeah. And, we could sort of kind of leave it there because, end of story. Yeah. But when it launched in 2012, what was your initial reaction when it basically sold out?
Crap. That's awesome, but crap. What do we do now?
It was the amazing thing was when we got our the first payment for the wine.
Yeah, we're so excited.
And we were so excited. We were just like, wow, this is so much money. We look at it now, it's just sort of like. That probably won't pay me.
Yeah, I know.
It's all economies of scale, right?
It really was. And we looked at it, and I still remember that first payment coming through, and I was like, Adrian, look, So that was really, really exciting. I will never forget that moment.
You are on the timeline of naked winemakers in Australia, the first. You're at the start of the very timeline. Yes, there was 5 other wonderful winemakers who joined in the same month, but you're at the start of the timeline. What did you make of this thing? Really, you took another leap of faith, really, when you came to join Naked Wines. And it would have been all unknown because it was unknown, right? The business model, these customers called angels, the interaction, almost like a virtual cellar door online. Yeah. How did you actually deal with all that at the start?
It's funny.
And what was the effect on you and the impression
on you? I think it's funny because at the time, like I said, we had the brand, and I think the guys from the UK were out and they were looking, sort of visiting different wineries, and so we heard talk about it, and but sort of through the channels that we had, it was sort of that that more traditional wine channels, and no one could really wrap their head around the concept, and we sort of looked at it.
Yeah, I actually was in the same room as those guys when they were meeting with someone else. Like I was working and they came in to see someone else, and I was sitting, a couple of metres away, just eating my lunch, not knowing who they were, and then sort of got told, and then just sort of realised they were those people, and then I was like, okay, they say they're looking around for winemakers, and
we can make wine.
Please.
So I think for us, we had nothing to lose. Like we were looking for an opportunity, and we were ready
starting.
But we were just like, okay, well, you know what? Tell us what it is you need from us. Yeah. Tell us how we can work in with you, and we'll make it happen. We want this. We need this. Yeah. I'm not really sure where it's going to go, but you know what? Let's just give it a go.
Yeah. I guess a good piece of information I was given was just like say yes to everything and figure it out.
Figure it out later. Yeah.
I think my favourite.
What great advice.
Don't ask permission, beg forgiveness.
Yes, that's a beauty.
That's my philosophy of life.
But again, it's all about basically going to the edge of the cliff and jumping off and having faith and trust. Right?
Like Rebecca said, we had nothing to lose. If we sent some wine to Naked Wines when they first started, and we get some money in return. That was
they
fine.
can find our
next
batch of wine that we make and send.
Fine. And we just thought, it is unknown, but we'll ride the wave.
Well, that was 2012, and in terms of timelines, I wanted to get before 2012 and now post 2012 because Naked Wines Australia started in 2012. You were ostensibly the first winemaking team to come on board. What has changed in the last 7 years? How has Naked Wines liberated you as winemakers and a winemaking team? What has actually changed in your life? You've got 3 children.
Everything. It's. First and foremost, yes, we've got 3 children, so it's a big part of that whole 7 years. But I think it's made us realise, firstly, that we might actually get to our dream.
Yeah.
And we are so much further ahead of where we ever thought we'd be at this point. 6 years in, and here we are. And we'd never in our wildest dreams did we...
when we first started, for the first few years, we were a part-time business. We were both working full-time for someone else, and now we're both full-time employees of our own business. It's just...
You've got to pinch yourself, right?
Oh, yeah. we do, and we just think, oh, my God, this is... Even now, we pinch ourselves, 6 years later, we're like, oh, my God, how are we here? How did we get here?
Well, not just here, but let me just, just a one stat. In the space of 6.5 years, adored by thousands, as I said in the intro, but you've actually got close to 20,000 loyal followers on the Naked Wine site. 20,000. You've garnered over 186,000 comments on your wines.
I get a bit overwhelmed.
It's amazing.
To be honest. Because we get so many responses, and I'm a little bit behind at the moment.
That's okay.
Because there's just so many responses, and we do tend to and not only here in Australia but in the UK as well.
Yeah.
And we do tend to take a little bit longer to respond to everyone, just because there's just so many, which we love. I'm reading them constantly, and just it makes me smile just to think, oh my God, this. How people are enjoying our wine or drinking our wine, and even now we're at a point where I might be at a friend's house, or they'll go, oh, we've got your wine in our cupboard. People actually have our wine, they know our wine, they've had
Yeah, it's a bit weird when you see your friends on Facebook, with your wine that, you sort of... I've sort of never had the thought that, some of my friends would actually be Naked Wines customers, just thought...
Yeah.
And then you go, all right, there.
Have you ever been out to a BYO and seen someone over there drinking your wine?
Yes,
That happened.
have you?
That happened really early on.
This was the best.
I think it's the only time we've actually seen it.
It was so random.
We would have been not long after we had our first child. We were doing something, and then it was early. It was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We're like, Sienna needs to get to bed by this time, and let's go have an early dinner somewhere. So we went to a Thai restaurant.
Local Thai restaurant. One of our
It was BYO, and so we've first people in there. We were only table, and we about finished our meal. And this other group come in, and we noticed
like they sat right behind us.
We noticed like the little white cap and a long bottle. And I was sort of looking at that, and then Rebecca turns around and goes, "That bottle looks really familiar." And she sort of looks around at it, and she's like, "That's your wine.
That's our wine gentile."
And she actually went over to him and said, "You've got our wine." And they were confused. They were confused because they thought like,
"You're accusing me of stealing your."
And Rebecca had to explain it about 3 times, like, "You've got our wine."
Like he's the A and I'm the R. Like we made that wine. It was so random but so exciting. I'm like, you got our wine, and you brought it because I mean, with that wine, all I do is Thai food.
Yeah.
I was like, you even brought it to a Thai restaurant.
Good on you.
With that wine.
So,
that was.
Yeah. But that's the only time
exciting.
I've seen it at a restaurant, I think.
Yeah, but it's funny because I have a lot of
much.
friends now saying, I went round to my friend's place and they had your wine, and it's just surreal. Like oh my God, so many people are drinking our wine, and it's incredible and a little bit overwhelming and incredibly surreal, but.
Tens of thousands of people are drinking your wine.
Yeah,
it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
The wine with the cartoon label on the front.
just brilliant.
Yeah. So,
we've talked about that involvement with Naked Wines and Naked Angels, but I want to go back to a statement that I've seen a couple of times in the press that you've both said, which is that you're very proud to be first-generation wine pioneers, quote, unquote.
Yeah, that's not our... that was from...
I liked it.
Yeah, it was a guy that does Wine Business magazine.
I think he said it.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's what we are.
Yeah.
That's what we are.
First generation wine pioneers. Well, you're pioneers in so many ways, but why is, just to put it in perspective, so many winemakers in Australia come from, dynastic backgrounds, generation upon generation, which is great, great stories, great learning and great traditions, but you don't come from that background.
No, you don't.
So everything you've created is actually from scratch.
Scratch, 100%. Yeah. So we started with nothing. We saved up to put
We didn't inherit any vineyard. We didn't inherit a winery. We didn't inherit money. Like we completely started from scratch.
And so we did. We literally started from scratch. We saved up for what we were thinking we were saving for a house deposit.
Yeah.
And then we used it to buy.
Yeah, to make our first batch of wine.
And it's gone from there. And, look, literally it's purely just been our passion.
And I guess, what makes us proud of that sort of that statement is that, we've had to build our business from scratch. We've had to go through what is essentially a tough industry to get in because there's, enormous costs involved even before, you sell the product and there's obviously selling the product and... like just put into perspective, like before, you have to buy the fruit, buy the barrels, have the equipment, and then you bring in, you make the wine, you bottle it. Generally, it's not sold for another 12 months. So then you've got to essentially fund another vintage yourself before you even start seeing any return.
Absolutely.
So the costs and the outlay to be...
And then just all the... equipment, and then even the equipment, like you need tanks and more barrels and more tanks and pumps and things, and they cost money. So at the moment, our winery is inside a larger winery. We lease space from a larger winery, and that's who we are. Everything that we make is from that little spot, and it's a stepping stone, and the next stepping stone will be possibly leasing our own space, 100% our own space, and then hopefully somewhere down the track it'll be our own little winery and vineyard. But
we are on track for that.
They're all baby steps.
I know,
but
it's amazing.
At the same time, it's 6 years down the track. It's further than we probably thought it's definitely further than we thought we'd be.
It's the start of a dynasty, really, isn't
Well,
it?
yeah. I mean, I don't know if how our girls are going to go. They're not showing any great winemaking skill yet.
I mean, just going back on the model. So I guess the naked model is such that you don't have to worry about the marketing and the selling. I mean, with close to 20,000 followers, you've got 20,000 people that are going to buy your wine year in, year out.
Yeah, and that's a massive part. I mean, obviously, you can be good at making wine and you can have the ability to create, but then selling's a whole different market. Like, to go out and have to sell the wine, that's part of the making.
It's the killer, isn't it?
That's the killer, and then to have the time, because it's just us. Like, it's just Adrian and I.
Yeah.
So, running a business, looking after kids, making the wine, and then to have the time to go out and sell it. It's
often in a few bottles of a time to a restaurant.
Yeah, and you may or may not get paid.
And you may or may not get paid for months.
For months. So, the return is real. It's a tough industry to crack into, and it's, where we are today is purely because of Naked Wines, because of the, you guys have, Naked Wines have been there to sell it and market it, and that's massive. That's a massive part of the whole process.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have friends in the winemaking fraternity who look at you and go, "What's going on here?" Do you have interesting conversations?
There's definitely curious people that, especially when we first started, people
like, how does it work?
Yeah.
Like, what actually happens? Like, well, you wouldn't believe it, but we sell them wine and they sell and then they pay us. Like, within a reasonable time.
They take all the wine we make right away and then pay for it.
So
right away.
It's and they're like, well, yeah, but what's a catch? Like, the thing is, there's no catch. They just take our wine and sell it. And they're like, yeah, but how does it really work? Like, especially initially, people just couldn't.
When it was completely unknown.
Completely unknown.
Apparently the tax office doesn't know how it works, though.
It's fine.
Well, it's a legitimate way of doing it. It's just a totally different way of doing it.
Yeah.
That the wine industry is used to.
Yeah. And I about 5 minutes ago, something came out of my mouth, which was it's like a virtual cellar door. It's a cellar door online, because you interact with all these customers called angels who can't make it down to the Yarra Valley to see you in person. But the immediacy of the contact between you and you responding to questions is almost like going to a cellar door and seeing the winemaker, and that's unusual in itself because most winemakers are not fronting their cellar doors.
Exactly. Yeah, except at the moment because I'm a little bit behind with my responses.
That's okay.
But yes, it is like that. The immediacy part's probably as it should be. But it is. It's right. It's that face-to-face contact with the winemaker.
Yeah.
That a lot of places don't have. They're just seeing cellar door staff or
I want to touch on the wines you actually make, because you do what your region is renowned for, which is Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, but you also do some what I tend to call weird and wackies as well. Now, clearly, you've got the freedom to do that. Where does the love of Cabernet come from? For instance.
And that's, before you answer that, Adrian, another amazing thing about Naked Wines for us has been that they've basically just said, look, you guys are the winemakers. You guys know what you're doing. Tell us what you can do, and then we'll sell it.
Yeah.
Whereas generally it's, well, the market wants Chardonnay and the market wants Shiraz. So you have to make that.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll sell.
Yeah.
We've had the freedom to really explore some of those wild and wacky things, which, I mean, obviously the Boy Meets Girl was always created to be approachable, fun, easy drinking, good for large groups. The A&R range was kind of our exploration range, and sort of, I guess, for the Angels, the next step up in terms of, okay, so they know our Boy Meets Girl wines, they know that, the Sauv Blanc, and they know all those varieties, but hey, you know what? I know these winemakers, I like their wines, I'm going to try something new. So it's also their foray into something new and interesting.
Absolutely.
And so that's what our A&R
with no risk.
With no risk.
Yeah.
With no risk. And then there's our Family Reserve range, which is kind of the top of the pyramid, small batch, tiny quantities, very niche styles specific to the Yarra Valley and, I guess, our winemaking style.
Yeah.
Wines that won't suit everyone's palate, and we fully understand that. But, so we've been given this whole sort of pyramid
Yeah.
to work within. And I guess, sorry to interrupt, Adrian, the wild and wacky Carmenere and the Gentile. The Gentile was based on a style that we were introduced 2 years ago. It's called the Edelsviker. It's an Alsatian blend. It's essentially a field blend, and
So from France.
So it's a style that we loved. That we knew we would never be able to make that commercially here. There's no distributor or anyone that would touch that. They go, no, yes, it's too hard. Whereas we came to Naked Wines and went, you know what? We really love this style. Can we make a little bit and see how it goes?
Yeah.
And Naked Wines like, yeah, sure, give it a go. I'm like, okay, yay. Oh. So and that's sort of taken off in Australia and the UK, and that's what I think the freedom to be able to come and say, you know what? We found some really good Carmenere fruit. Can we give that a go? Yeah,
it was just interesting.
Interesting because we love, for us, it's Yarra Valley, it's Pinot Noir. I mean, that's our ultimate. But to be a little bit experimental is always super fun.
It's something really different. And
well, just on a tangent for a second, what is it? What is this Carmenere? We'll come back on track. But what is this varietal? What does it taste like? What colour is it?
It's a Bordeaux variety, so Bordeaux region in France, and it used to be part of the sort of the main grape varieties there, and for some reason or another, it virtually became extinct in France. It just got pulled out, and there's hardly any of it left. By accident, it got planted in Chile, and it's become their national grape variety. Because they wanted to plant Merlot, which they imported from France, and it just happened to be this vine instead of Merlot. And so they've got heaps of this, and it's become really popular over there.
You're kidding? It's a mistake?
Yeah, it's a mistake.
Some of the best things are.
Yeah, exactly. And there's very little of it planted in Australia. So when I saw there was some available, I thought, I'll give that a go, because it is an interesting variety. It's got some lovely dark red colour. It's quite distinctive. Certainly in aroma and flavour, it's more of the herbaceous aspects of Cabernet, but it's not as sort of tannic, or it's not as...
It almost smells like a Cabernet and tastes like it's a bit softer.
So it's very much of the Bordeaux family, yeah?
Yeah. So it's there's quite a lot of capsicum aroma in there, but when you taste it, there is that little bit of capsicum flavour, but it's not harsh. It's quite a soft and fleshy sort of red. So it's kind of I wouldn't say the best of both worlds, but it's kind of sort of in that ballpark, because you're getting something quite distinctive, and if you like Cabernet but you don't like Cabernet that's really harsh or tannic or mouth puckering like tannin, it's just a bit softer and fleshier and a bit more red fruit, but it's still got that sort of little bit of, it's still got a distinctive herbaceousness, which that's Carmenere.
And how's it been received?
Pretty good. It's. I think everyone appreciates the distinctive flavours about it. They try it and they know that it's different, and it's got its little following, I guess, on the Naked Wine site, and
it's certainly quite. I think it'd be quite polarising, because it is very distinctive and very unique. And I think people either taste it and go, "Wow, that's amazing," or they taste it and go, "I don't
know what that is,"
which is fair enough, because it is quite. It is quite unique.
Yeah, and it's pretty similar with the Gentile, because it's a blend of a few different varieties, and it's not a lot of wines out there that are like that in Australia anyway. And
that's our A&R.
Yeah, and that's what we like doing. So you get to try something different,
and you have the freedom to do it.
Yeah. And we have the freedom to do it, which is again unheard of, I guess, in the wine industry, because the market and the distributors kind of dictate what you need to be making, because that's what they can sell.
Yeah.
Whereas here at Naked, it's not like it's.
And you see comments on the site where people wonder what a variety is, or they'll see something and go, I'm not sure what that is, but I've had other wines from this winemaker, so I'll give it a go because I like their wines. And I guess that's the beauty of it. So.
I mean, it certainly puts paid to that notion of, we can't make it because there's no market for it. Well, how do you know there's no market for it unless you actually make it, Exactly. I mean, no one wanted a motor car until it came along. They just wanted faster horses, right? So, I mean, this will clearly only grow now that it's out there and being given wings to actually live.
Well, I think so. And I think, like Adrian was saying, it's, and I was saying before, people become familiar with our Boy Meets Girl range, and they become, they're happy with it, and they enjoy our particular style of winemaking. And look, there's, we fully understand. We have a particular style, and we do like to mix it up a little bit, but we have a style. Some people will love that, some people won't like that, and that's cool. But, you know, if you're sort of enjoying our Boy Meets Girl and you feel, I guess, you know, happy with that style, but you're like, you know what, I'm going to try something different. Like Adrian said, they sort of go, okay, what else is Adrian Rebecca doing, and what's something different that we can try? And, it's kind of where the A&R kicks in. And it's a bit of an, you know, I guess a little bit more of an education and exploratory kind of.
Yeah, just keep things interesting.
Yeah.
Keep things interesting. It is that.
That's the goal, right?
It is that. Just very quickly, Adrian, your heritage background clearly is Italian.
Yep.
Do you subscribe, therefore, to the whole food and wine matching thing? Were you raised in a family that basically you drink wine when you eat great food?
Somewhat. You know, there was always, you know, mainly my dad. Obviously, I was an only child, so it wasn't like I wasn't drinking wine at a super young age. But my dad always had, you know, a little glass of wine with lunch and dinner.
Yeah,
that was it. Just had wine. It didn't sort of exactly matter what it was. And, you know, if you go to Italy or France and, you know, and you sit down with a family there and, you know, they've got their local wine. It's always the local wine, only the local wine on the table with their local food. And that's all they have. And it's normal. And even I spent a month in Italy in my late teenage years, and I went to school for a bit of that month. And at this particular high school, in their lunch hall, they had wine on the table, so the students could have wine. And
at what age?
This would have been a senior high, so, you know, 16, 17.
Here I'm pretending I'm aghast. I'm not really, you know. But I love that culture.
No, and it was normal. It wasn't like any of them were, you know, reaching out, having many glasses. You know, some, you know, only
it's just part of the
a few of them
like,
just have a little sip with it because it's normal. It's what their parents did. You know, just have a little sip with your meal, and you don't have any. You know, you don't have too much more. It's just.
That's it.
So, it's like having a little sip of water when you're finishing your.
And it helps digestion and.
Yeah, whereas I'm not Italian, I don't have an Italian heritage. However, for me, life is about food and wine. And I talk a lot with my hands, so I feel like maybe in a past life I was Italian. Maybe it's something down there going on. But yeah,
I reckon you were.
I feel like I was, right?
Yeah.
And food and wine for me is my everything. So yes, wine and food is incredibly important.
I just want to touch very quickly on. You're also very famous in the UK with UK Naked and Angels there. You've been on a few wine tours over there too. Is the reception by UK customers as strong as it is with Australian Angels?
For the whole...
Definitely, yeah.
For the whole Naked Wines family, I guess it is. The UK being where Naked Wines sort of started and slightly bigger than Australia. You know, we're one of many winemakers there, so you know, there's a few people that obviously don't know us, or a lot of people that don't know us, and
but it's we go on the tours. It's a great opportunity because every single one, like, so we go on the tours. It's 10 cities, 10 different cities, 10 different days, and every single one of those shows sells out. And there's thousands of Angels there, and they all sell out. All those shows sell out. So it's it's incredible.
You do see the people that are really. Dig your wines. They write. They come in and they just tell you how wonderful they think all your wines are. And they love the story. And the Archangels over there, they're once again right into it. Like they just know everything about virtually everyone's wines, and they are flying the flag. They're going around telling other people in the hall to try this and try that, and
it's an incredible community.
Yeah. Well, I've seen you when you do the tastings here in Australia in both Sydney and Melbourne. It's 5 deep just to see you. I mean, you really are like rock stars. It's amazing.
I don't know about that.
Maybe far too humble or something.
But no, I mean, it's those are incredible. Like, they're just so priceless, those things, because to be able to meet and talk, and you can type, like, you build a relationship with people typing, responses and replying to Angels, but being there and speaking to them and
when you put a face to the name, because there are obviously the people that have a lot of interaction on the site. So when they introduce themselves and sort of that name rings a bell, and then they mention something else, and you go, "Oh yeah, I do know you now." So and it's great to put that face to the name, and
particularly last
just
year,
build a
those shows
relationship.
in Melbourne and Sydney last year. It was incredible how many people came up and told me their boy meets girl story. Like they have their own, like they've got their own boy meets girl stories. Like this just blows me. I'm like, oh my God, what's your story? And they've, her boyfriend proposed to her with a bottle of boy meets girl.
Of course.
Or they've had it at their wedding, or they've,
yeah.
their first anniversary, or, and they're sharing their boy meets girl stories with us. And
There's quite a few couples that are A&R as well. They're like, oh,
yeah,
we're
like,
A&R as well. So
and it's just, like, again, like I can't, it's so overwhelming. It's just, oh my God, all these people that know us and have memories around, or, special moments in their life that our wine's been a part of. It's just, it's incredible.
Well, it is incredible when you just think it's barely 6 years.
Yeah, no. 6 years.
6 years.
I mean, it's been such a massive 6 years.
I mean, what's going to happen in the next 6 years?
I know. We were just talking about that the other day. I can't
It's true.
comprehend it. It's incredible.
It's gobsmackingly awe-inspiring what potentiality is going to happen,
Yeah, it was.
Anyway, we must move on. I just want to talk quickly about, or not so quickly, about your winemaking philosophy. It's clearly this new term, lo-fi, as opposed to hi-fi, or massive intervention. Therefore, you are as minimal intervention as possible in the winemaking process. Can you just expand on that a little bit, Adrian?
well, look, that's just sort of our belief that when you're making wine, especially if you've got good grapes, you don't have to do much.
You shouldn't have to do much. It's like, I always use the analogy at tastings. It's like you go to the farmers markets and you buy a tomato. And a tomato at the farmers markets versus tomato you buy at Coles, they're two different things. The tomato at the farmers market just has flavour and aroma and colour, and that's what good grapes should be like that. And if you've got good grapes, then you don't want to stuff that up.
Yeah.
You just want to sort of treat it carefully through the winery, not do much to it.
And let it do its own thing.
And let it do its own thing, so you can capture those incredible flavours and aromas.
Yeah. So you build a wine with a sense of, I guess, individuality with that, because it's going to bring out the flavours of that particular variety and the site where the grapes come from. Like every, believe it or not, every different site, even if they're next to each other, different blocks, they're going to have different flavours because there's going to be something that's slightly different, and you can treat them the exact same way and you'll get different flavours. And that's doing the least that you need to brings those flavours out. Like it brings out the varietal, the regional characters, the individual block characters, and that's the beauty with wine, because you can sort of look at it, and when you get to know those certain little nuances, that you realise, well, you could sort of blindfold and taste, and you go, well, that's from that, because there's a character there that I pick up that I associate with that particular place. And there's also the vintage variation, which it sort of tells a story. So when I guess with our family reserve wines, when you pick that up and you become sort of get a little bit of wine knowledge, hopefully it sort of takes you on a journey. You can almost you get those different flavours and the complexity of flavours and mouthfeel and texture. But if you had a couple of those wines from different vintages, it could tell you a story of where it came from and what the vintage was like, whether it was hot or cold, and that's what I love about wine, because it is a story. It is a bit of a journey as well when you sort of delve into the sort of a slightly snobby part of it, I guess.
Yeah.
For want of a better word.
Well, the great thing about you guys is there's not a single level of, bit of snobbiness about you in winemaking at all, because there's no room for it, really, isn't there?
No, it's not our style.
There's no time.
I think wine is just, at the end of the day, it's personal, it's individual, and some people are going to like our wine, some people aren't. We like some wines and some wines we don't. Like, that's what it is. That's it. No point being snobby or pretentious. It's just enjoy it. Enjoy it. Drink what you enjoy.
And just try to make the best wine that we can.
Yeah,
that's it. That's.
I love it. Yeah. Just a small little segue. Clearly, your spiritual winemaking home is the Yarra Valley. Can you just give anyone who's listening a quick 101 on why the Yarra Valley is unique? It's, I think, from memory, the oldest premium and the first grown and oldest premium wine growing region in Victoria, and it's renowned for its cool climate, fruit. What do you love about this region?
Certainly the climate, because it is sort of very suitable, perfect for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, which I guess for me are the two varieties that I enjoy drinking the most and therefore enjoy making. And it's, you know, it's just that's the main thing for me. It's the climate that gives you good grapes to work with, and it's a very, very simple statement.
It's also a really good community. Like the winemakers and the grape growers in the Yarra, are, just all really good people, and everyone kind of seems to get on and
they work together.
Really well, and but it's a lovely region. Again, like our passion is Pinot Noir, and grow some pretty damn good Pinot Noir.
It's near Melbourne, so it's not too far away from Melbourne.
How far out is it from Melbourne?
About 45 minutes. Drive.
Oh, that's so quick, isn't it?
It is. It's not far at all. Yeah, there's a freeway. Get on it straight away.
And so when you actually realised yet another one of your dreams and open a cellar door, and will it be in the Yarra Valley?
That's that's where we would like to retire. I think that's the plan for now. I mean, it's a great region. It's a lovely region.
I'm not retiring. I'm just going to keep working, and even if at old age my work might just be yelling at hopefully children or grandchildren saying they're doing it wrong.
He'll do it.
I'll just be the person.
He'll be that grumpy old Italian man.
You know that if you're a fan of The Simpsons, there's a little clip of it's Grandpa Simpson with his fist out looking at a cloud, and there's a headline saying grumpy old man yells at cloud. That'll be me.
Those clouds. Yep, that'll be Adrian for sure.
Do you always work well together?
No.
Because you said that you actually said that you're polar opposites, right?
I think.
But in the end, there's a balance, right?
In the end, I think there's there's logic and there's common sense. Splash a little bit of dreaming and hope. But I think at the end of the day, like I said, our direction and our core beliefs are we're sort of unified on that. So all the peripheral stuff, we'll.
I always say that I'm the soothing yin to her raging yang.
Oh,
of course
I like it.
Say that. It's not true at all. But look, there might be, days where we'll, that's not how it should be. What are you doing?
We've had a pretty good argument over how to make bolognese sauce.
Oh, yeah. That was
have you? Yeah. Oh, well, everyone's got their own favourite, don't they?
Oh, my God, yeah, we do know, but we truly had a massive argument.
We were on Google, getting the official recipe from, the...
And I had the official recipe. But he kept trying to tell me that I didn't.
When you say the official recipe, which one do you mean?
From Bologna, yeah.
From the Academia?
Yeah.
I've got that one.
See? I had it too, but then he had it too. But this is different to me. No. But he was wrong, and I was right.
Oh.
That's not how...
But the original recipe is very simple, right?
It's very simple. Yeah. It's very simple.
Do you want to tell us the recipe?
Oh, off the top of my head, I don't know.
Let me ask you this question. Mushrooms or no mushrooms?
No mushrooms. Not in a bolognese.
Okay, you agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Garlic or no garlic?
Garlic. Definitely garlic.
I think... I don't mind putting garlic in there, but I think the official recipe doesn't have it in there.
It doesn't have it, but I've got to have garlic in everything.
I have to agree with that.
It doesn't have garlic, no.
Just onion.
It's got... Because a lot of people use pork mince as well.
It's predominantly a meat sauce. It's not a tomato-based sauce. It's only a little bit.
I know, that's what I was doing.
Just making sure.
Now, the reason I asked about the bolognese sauce, right, is because, as I said, everyone has their favourite. Everyone knows the original recipe, Yep. So we'll finish it here, but, tin of tomatoes or tomato paste?
It's got to be passata. Yeah, for sure.
You agree?
Yeah. No tin of tomatoes.
No tin of tomatoes.
You can go the concentrated tomato paste or a little bit of passata.
It's got to be passata.
I'm glad we've solved that one.
Yeah. Well, look, we've sort of come to agree to disagree because we just couldn't agree.
Hey, I'll tell you what, just because I know everyone out there at the moment is listening and going, yes, I agree. I know how to make the best bolognese. I'm sorry we've gone down this particular rabbit hole. Can you possibly post your recipe on your wall?
Yes, I will post the official Bologna recipe on our wall, Adrian.
Yeah. I'll check it to make sure it's the right one.
Excellent. Let's try the Chardonnay. This is the reserve Chardonnay. The reason I want to just talk it through with you, Adrian and Rebecca, is that we're about to launch it very soon. Here we are chatting with you in early 2019, and this will launch in a couple of weeks. So by the time that people get to hear or listen or see this, they can probably have it in front of them. So can we just talk through this reserve Yarra Valley Chardonnay?
Yeah, well, 2018 was a pretty good year. Like 17 was a perfect year, so 18 pretty close to being perfect year as well, but probably second only to 17. In terms of on the nose, I get a little bit of hazelnut, but a lot of grapefruit. I think it's quite citrusy and minerally, and then on the palate, there's that little bit of oak that shows, but it's got a good core of Chardonnay fruit, and I think it's always important that it's got to have like the texture and mouthfeel, and I'm not happy with wines if they don't have texture and mouthfeel. It's got to have that sort of lingering mouthfeel and texture, not necessarily acidity, but it's just that they're the two key words, and
the way it sits in your mouth.
Yeah, and it should be balanced, every part of it, like on your tongue at every point. There should be nothing standing out over anything else. And look, this is a Yarra Valley Chardonnay, so it's more on the lean, minerally style.
Yep.
Tiny little bit of malo, 25-30% brand new oak. But yeah, it is that very sort of Yarra Valley style, that cool climate Chardonnay. Yeah.
2018 could live for years, right?
Yeah. Let's say, I usually say that our Chardonnay, our family reserve wines, are good for 5 to 8 years. But if you've got a bottle of 17 or 18, that it could be 10 plus years.
Yep. Sensational wine.
We think so.
I hope so.
We're a little bit biased though.
I think there's 20,000 Angel customers who agree as well.
We make our wines the way we like drinking them. So
it's kind of just what we know, and that's how we do it best. Is just making what we enjoy, and we hope that others enjoy it too.
To that point, I mean, here we have this thing here, the Santolin Family Reserve cider, which was first up prior to Christmas last year, simply because we asked the Angels, Adrian and Rebecca want to make a cider. Do you reckon they should? And they all went, yoo-hoo. I mean, fantastic, and it's gone extraordinarily well, hasn't it?
Yeah, look, I mean, it was just another little...
It was great to see how well it was received, because, we once again, we thought it looked okay. We were happy with it, and had some lovely, nice, apple flavour.
Which we really wanted to keep. A lot of ciders can be really sweet and quite sickly, and you kind of lose that beautiful sort of apple kind of character. So our aim with this was to keep...
It was really, you've got that sort of apple, really Granny Smith sort of apple flavour in there, and it had that little bit of sweetness, and it was refreshing, and it was sparkling, and so
served us well
delicious.
In the summer. And it's low in alcohol, so you can have that little bit more if you want.
Absolutely. So you've made so many different styles of wines, and we'll wrap it up now. But basically, I mean, and yes, you're probably a few years away from having your own cellar door, but it's within touching distance, it really is. And so, in terms of I've mentioned Carmenere before, and what is on the horizon in terms of if the Angels said yes, we could do this, I'd love to do this. What is the next? You've been ticking off so many dreams and achieving them. What's the next one in terms of style or variety?
That's a great question.
That might...
Or you're happy where you are?
No, we're always trying to push boundaries and find out what the next...
I think that the next step is more of a physical step for our business, and then that'll dictate where we go. Where it'll be like a place where we actually put our winery. Yeah, that'll be the next step, because we're sort of outgrowing the space we're in at the moment. Yeah, and then like I said, that'll dictate what we will actually do. Or we've definitely got a love for Italian varietals as well. Yep. So if they do well in the Australian climate, so I'm always sort of looking for those southern Italian varieties that are just lovely to drink. They're soft and fleshy and got lovely fruit, and
it's like Nero d'Avolas and that.
Yeah, Nero d'Avola and Primitivo and Negro Amato and those sort of varieties, and they're sort of newish to Australia as well. So they're something new and different, but also very well suited to our climate. So,
absolutely,
that might be a path that we go down.
Great,
but we'll always stay on Pinot because I need that in my life.
That's important.
It's very important that I have Pinot at all times.
Excellent. Excellent.
Whenever needed.
Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you in Drinking Naked with me today.
Thank you for having us.
I just want to wrap it up with a quick little, as I like to do, finish off with 5 questions in 5 seconds, which has never been contained to 5 seconds.
Okay.
And I've never talked to 2 people at once, so here we go. And by the way, I always get the same response to this anyway.
Okay.
Adrian, what's your favourite wine?
Don't have one.
Rebecca?
Pinot.
Adrian, what's your favourite wine moment anywhere, anytime? Up till now.
These questions are wasted on me because
wondering.
there's no one moment. It's just like I like doing this and that's it. Like I'm a very simple person. So
Rebecca?
Well, for me, it's anytime I open a bottle of Pinot or champagne.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, anytime.
Which has Pinot in it.
Exactly.
There's a commonality here, isn't there?
Yeah.
Adrian, favourite driving song?
You are so open to these questions.
If I've got a choice of music, regardless of what I'm doing, it's probably Metallica or Nirvana or something, early 90s rock and metal.
My favourite song when I'm driving on that freeway into the city is Black Betty by Spiderbait, for sure.
By Spiderbait?
Yeah, the new one, I know, but it's... It's a good freeway song, that one.
Whoa, Black Betty.
Best
with Cram. Cram on drums, yeah?
Yes.
No, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. What do you want to be doing in 5 years' time?
Hopefully working in our own vineyard and winery. We'll see if that happens. So it is still a dream, but like you said, it's a dream that possibly getting closer. So.
I second that.
You second that. You're in agreement.
We are in agreement.
Harmoniously
it's
agreeing. And finally, best thing about making wine for Naked Angel customers?
I think
we get paid.
That's true. That's a good point. I think also getting to meet them.
Yeah.
You know, in any other industry, we'd just be selling wine to our distributors and never actually get to meet that end customer because we don't have sell at all.
Yeah.
So, it's that chance to actually interact with them and thank them.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you both for coming in and...
Oh, no, you're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers. Thanks for listening to Drink Naked. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. If you like what you heard, leave a 5-star review. And if you think you know someone that might like it as much as you, please let them know that we exist. In the meantime, stay tuned for the next winemaker rockstar to come visiting at Naked HQ.